money, and we're not doing anything to even go down to the level of the technical aspects of building that richness or that wealth. And I think that's what we need to do as young Africans today, is actually go back to the roots of it and say, let's educate ourselves. Like a lot of spaza shops in my guys, you would notice that when the grandmother or the grandfather passes away, the kids and the grandkids are unable to, take that business further or even run it, because our parents were never taught, or they don't have the skills to teach us the business. They're all about run around, go do errands, and never get to know the business of things. So I think that's where we need to start changing the narrative and learn to do the business of the industries that we want to be in.
So, like one example I can give is like the franchise industry. If you look at a lot of franchises that are owned by white families, or even like the shops that they own or whatever, it's a family business to own that franchise. You know, the franchise brand itself might be owned by another company, but they run it like a family business. If you look at postnets, the postnets that are in your neighborhoods are usually run by families. Fortunately, the one in my neighborhood, which is Danefern, is run by a black family. Sorry for that flex, but you know, we gotta celebrate any black ownership we have because it's few and far between. Um, um, but you know, um, I haven't seen their kids at the store. You know, they've hired staff, but I haven't seen their kids at the store. When you look at like white-owned franchises, you know, the kids, their first work experience happens at grandpa's shop, and what we don't teach our children, and it's a conversation I was actually having with my wife, you know, where she was telling me that she learned about the retention of wealth from her grandmother. And my wife is Zimbabwean born, which makes her vastly different from South Africans because we don't have land or anything or any wealth to pass down, you know. So her grandmother still farms to this day on her land and makes money from her farming, you know, and is able to do that. My grandmother used to work on a farm and pick peanuts and couldn't even afford to take my father to school. My father is an entrepreneur, and that's where the entrepreneurship bug, you know, bit me. You know, I also wanted to control my time and also venture into business, but I would I was never encouraged to actually get into business because my father was not um, running a business as a system to be a CEO. He ran his business so that he could employ himself. So he was more of someone who is self-employed than an entrepreneur. Whereas because of the access to information that I had and knowing how businesses work, I was actually able to start my own business, you know, without the guidance of my parents or them mentoring me on entrepreneurship because they didn't have entrepreneurship. Self-employment and entrepreneurship are two very vastly different things, you know. I had to actually learn that this is actually how you build a business. You build systems and then you earn off those systems. And then your job as the CEO is to spend your time thinking and making the correct decisions. So that's, you know, basically what I was able to do in the businesses that, you know, I either managed or ran. You know, I was always in a position where I would be the person who hires the team or picks the team that works under me. And I could spend my time thinking and making certain decisions that could actually grow the business and, you know, making strategic decisions, which is something that we don't actually get taught and it's never glorified. And the danger that we're facing right now with this glorification of this facade of entrepreneurship that we're being sold right now through our celebrities is that we're not passing down those skills because our children are not looking up to entrepreneurs who actually build businesses. They're looking up to influencers who actually put on a facade. And this is why I named this space the BNG House of Cards, because that's practically what it is. It's a house of cards, you know, and any tremor, you know, any wind, and the whole entire house of cards comes crumbling down, and you see this whole entire thing was a false impression to begin with. So that's one thing. The credit that we can give to Bonang is that, you know, she is finding the means to fight for ownership of this brand that she has contributed immensely into popularizing and assisting to get to where it's at. But what is she popularizing at the end of the day? She's popularizing something that is a problem in our country. The reason why, when we have our serious and heavy lockdowns, we have our alcohol taken away is because we've got an alcohol dependency problem as a society, as South Africans. And that is part of our history. That is part of, our socialization. And that is part of the normalization of alcohol abuse in our communities. Because we all have that uncle Oistaba, but he's not that bad because we all drink. And we cannot judge him because, we all get drunk sometimes, you know, and therefore, you know, we just need to allow him to be like that. And when a child then grows up and sees this behavior normalized, and in our communities it's normalized, and then when you look at their idols that you see on TV, and all they're telling you is like, to be cool, you need to have your own liquor brand that you are influencing, or you need to hold some liquor, to be cool. When you go to Conca, it's all about how many bottles you can make fly. And now these bottles that are being made fly in a place that, people are spending more than the property value of the houses adjacent to this venue in a night. That is something that it needs to sink in. As in, someone spends money on alcohol and they could have bought a property within that very same precinct where they are actually spending this liquor. I mean, they're spending their money on liquor. And why is it that we're having all these people that are flocking to the townships, right? Because in the townships, there's young and impressionable people. What is it that they're trying to get out of these communities? They're trying to take advantage of the lowest hanging fruit, which is our black women, our black girls, not our black women, because these are young, impressionable girls. Now, girls are not even allowed to be in alcohol adverts if they are under the age of 25. Tell me, those girls that you see holding those bottles of Ace of Spades in the videos that you see at Conca, are they all 25 and above? I doubt, because if they were 25 and above, they might have actually proper 9 to 5 jobs. Because women of the age 25 and above, most of them at least have a certain skill level, at least have finished matric. It's not unlike boys, whose rates of school completion are significantly lower than boys of the same age. And then what's happening to these young girls who are being coerced into this lifestyle prior to them finding their independence? Is that they're then infected with HIV/AIDS at 4 times the rate of boys in the same age group of 16 to 25 years old. And then we wonder what's actually happening in our society, where we're actually commodifying the bodies of women. And then there's human trafficking, which is also rampant. And then there's girls that are also being shown by the same celebrities that sell them this poison of alcohol to be naked on Instagram, because that's what gets you followers and that's what gets you likes. That is the currency right now, is popularity. It's about followers and likes. So these young girls are out there on Instagram where there's no age restriction for them, right? They're not like being barred from showing their bodies. And there are old men who are on these platforms and are just picking and choosing a la carte young girls that they can take advantage of by sending an email and offering some money, or sending an Uber Black.
Yeah, Lebo, you have a comment?
Yeah, OJ, I'm being triggered there by Nota. I think I just failed to mention that our problems are much bigger than we actually think, right? So what I'd like to put forward, and it's a very bold statement, but the South African economy in the main is a house of cards. And the reason why I say that is because if you were to look at the three top shares in South Africa on the JSE right now, one is a technology company known as Naspers, which has merit, but the other two is an alcohol company and the other one is a tobacco company. They are
Well, the
they
one is a media company. Naspers is not a technology company. It's a
they
media company.
if I
So,
can just
yes, they're in the technology space because
yeah
they've got ownership in Tencent. But Process is the technology company.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you've seen this, like this share swap that's been happening. You
Yes,
know,
it
obviously they
happened some
switch
time
up
ago.
multi-choice and everything, but it's a media company. That is the actual media that is poisoning the minds of our people. That is the media that sells us this advertising. That is the media that sells us this gambling addiction that we have. Because
Mm,
that is also what is being sold when you watch sporting games and the people that own the league. You know, it's bet on this and bet on that, and bet on this and fix this match or whatever the case may be. So the top shares in our JSC are all poisoning us.
yeah. So if I can, thanks, Nota. I can feel you're very passionate about about this topic. Nonetheless, yeah. So essentially, after those shares, you'll be seeing maybe the mining companies, right? But as we know that the mining sector is not as strong as it used to be. And when that sector falls, we're left with alcohol and tobacco. So that is a testament to what South Africa has to offer. It has to only offer people who overconsume on alcohol and overconsume tobacco. That's the story we're telling as South Africa.
And then we also overconsume media because we don't go to sporting matches because DSTV has an incentive to keep us in our homes and sell us advertising of alcohol and gambling.
Yeah,
And they
100%.
don't advertise soccer matches or anything else. So people don't even go to the stadiums anymore.
Yeah, that's what I
People
wanted
don't
to share.
people don't even experience life anymore, and the normalization of this behavior is also something that's taking a toll on us. But I think the one thing that I wanted to say is that if anyone who hasn't had an opportunity to speak wants to speak, I think we can continue this conversation until 9 p.m. So we're going to be closing this at 9. um, and I'm going to adjust the title to also indicate that. But I'd also like, to clear the floor of the speakers that have already spoken and get some new speakers in. OJ, if you can also assist with that.
Yeah, no problem, man. Leo, I'm sure you answered. And skillful spaces. Sorry to disturb you. Where are you located? Can you just give us a brief on who you are? Because what you're doing is such a big job, and people need to know on the space what you do, where you locate, how content is being and proper treat. We can hang it so that whoever joins more about you. If you can, skillful space.
So Skillful Spaces started as a passion project. I'm a girl from Komapetla in Soweto. When I started the organization, it was just to bridge the gap that was already existing between the spaces that have opportunities and the children in the township. So I work in the fields of art, leadership, and in technology. So your coding programs, your art and painting, music, photography programs, and obviously leadership, just trying to get young people to understand the process of changing policy instead of banning libraries and just doing, but understanding the process of getting your voice out there, different kind of activism in changing the system. So our partners are your Origin Center in Birds, Constitution Hill, Market Photo Workshop. You can hit us up via WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram and Twitter, which the name is Skillful Spaces. Yeah, and my name is Ntabi. So what we do is that we're teaching children how to conceptualize their ideas, get them technical skills in the field, teach them how to be social in the space, just giving them confidence and not to fear these spaces such as university and the working spaces, and also just trying to grow the entrepreneurial skills and entrepreneurial spirit in them, that if you're not an employee, how do you take all your ideas and just convert them into an enterprise? And I think one of the biggest things that we need is exactly the influencers in this space, where they talking real about the issues of getting funding, the issues of us being our own capital investors, the issues of getting land. I mean, one of our programs was within the mythology of plants, where some of the kids were inspired to even start their own gardens. One of the kids is also starting their own garden with lettuce and some spinach. And now I think at 6 year old, he should be at a process where we're starting to talk to him about how do you now feed the nation? How do you start your own agricultural business, and that we buy from our own instead of buying from the big retailers? Or how do the big retailers buy from us? So that's my passion, that I am now strategizing to become a bigger entity, but it's all about the love for the children and giving an opportunity to an African child.
Ah, man, beautiful. Thank you very much. Now that we're back from the ad break, Maxwell, do you have any comments, questions, anything to add?
Well, it's more of a comment. It's not really a sorry. Good evening to everyone. Sorry for my bad manners. It's not really a question. It's a comment. Uh, just to add on what Nota was saying about the issue of alcohol. I once watched a documentary about 3 to 4 years back, and something that astonished me on that documentary is that in America, especially in New York, they alleged that before an artist sign a contract from a recording company, they ensure that they intoxicate the artist so that he or she does not really get the opportunity to go through the contract and to come up with some question. They give you alcohol. Obviously, from there you can think clearly. You become more elated, and then you just sign. And from there, you basically it's over for you. So we cannot really, as much as the other guy was saying, people will never stop drinking alcohol. Yeah, he's right. People will never stop drinking alcohol, but that does not excuse the effects alcohol has in our townships. It does not. And the mere fact that people will not stop drinking alcohol uh, does not necessarily mean we should stop talking about the effects it has. So basically, that's what I wanted to say, but I decided to put my hand down because I realized that people moved past that issue.
Lovely, man. Thank you very much. Nota, my question to you now is, okay, now that people, I don't want to talk too much about alcohol, but I want to talk about how best, for example, would have Bonang handled that situation? Because it seems like she's burning the bridges before anything has actually happened. So, what do you think she should have done right so that for anybody who wants to go into that kind of world or market, what can they do best to ensure that they actually make profits themselves and not actually burn the bridges around them to look like they're the victim while they knew what they were signing on?
Yeah. So I mean, um, look, this is a very complex issue, and each issue is nuanced. So for this one, she has got the support, and she's banking on the fact that she's got a very large fan base that supports her, and that's the reason why this product was very well supported. I mean, like a whole lot of speakers that came in here that say that they do consume this BNG product did so in support of her. So I don't think that I can be too critical of her strategy in this regard. But what I can say is that she has bullied CSA out of this deal. She has used her brand power, her celebrity, and her popularity to basically strong arm them into a negotiation where they will relinquish their ownership, even though they developed the brand, they invested in it as well. And it seems like in her actions right now, she is also actively devaluing the brand so that she can buy it at a lower price. Um, these are hardball tactics. These are hardball business tactics, and in business, it's allowed. It's not illegal, and some people might not be able to stomach this type of hostile takeover or hostile negotiations. But um, it has been done against our people many, many times. And now that it's being done by one of our own, you know, um, I guess there is some level of satisfaction that we can get as Black people in observing this and watching this. Um, although at the same time, we need to say that she is playing a very high stakes game and a very risky game, and she is forcing herself into bed with her partners who have already heavily invested in this brand. But she's also taken away any leverage that she might have to run away with this product and take it over to other people who might even offer her a better deal, but won't put up with her antics.
Okay, man. So 15 minutes left on my side. So we're just gonna throw the mic to fully vaccinated, my brother. After you, Kidiboni. I know you're gonna have something to say. So don't be too long, fully vaccinated. From there, Kidiboni, and then we'll continue with the previous panel to see if they have any other further questions, comments, or anything. Then from there we can shut it down. Fully vexed.
Uh, yeah, I was at OJ, I was at Nota. No, I just wanted to touch, like, the guy before Nota spoke about something. He was like, we need to talk about the effects of alcohol, my guy. My guy, alcohol has been around for thousands of years. It's one of the oldest thing recipes that has lasted millennials. You feel me? And yeah, man, they've been trying to stop it. They're not gonna stop it, right? Nobody's gonna stop alcohol. I don't think people are gonna stop consuming alcohol, which is why these brands will always look for people like Bonang to push their volumes. You feel me? But I think we can do better in terms of educating people about the effects of alcohol. But in my opinion, alcohol is not an overall bad thing, especially if you look at the township economy. Alcohol is a big, it's a big thing contributor to the township economy, and yeah, it provides a livelihood for a lot of people. You feel me? So let's not just bash it. And when it comes to Wanang, man, yo, this issue of Wanang is it's weird. It's very weird because man, it came out of nowhere. I guess people who are in the know will say that it didn't come out of nowhere, but for us, the ordinary Joes, it came out of nowhere. And I agree with Nota. I feel like she's basically bullying the thingy, the management company, CSA, and she's using her clout basically to paint them as the bad guy and her as the good guy. But if you read closely into what's happening in the deal, it looks like she was the one who was benefiting from the House of Bonang grant, but CSA was the one who was basically uh, doing the doing the hard work. And I feel like people in South Africa tend to always want to side with the artist and and basically the face instead of the creatives behind the brand. And maybe Bonang is banking on that, but man, like this is not good for a brand. This is not good for the BNG brand, and it's also not good for their partner company because yeah, CSA and Bonang are like they're going at it, but the thing the what do you call this? The farm that they're working with, the
Vino
company that owns
Ventures.
the farm.
Vino Ventures.
Yeah, Vino Ventures, the guys that are basically making the wine, they also feeling the effects of this thing,
What about their
and you
staff?
know,
What about the people that they employ, the people that tend
man,
to the vineyards and everything?
it,
Those mamas. That what about the children of those mamas?
it goes
The kids that they take to
it's a very it's a very messy thing, man. It's a very messy thing, but like to me, they just gonna settle out of court. Obviously, I do. I don't think either parties can afford thing. Let's what do you call this? Going to court. I don't think the either
litigate.
party can afford that, so they're gonna settle out of court. Bonang is probably gonna she's probably gonna maintain the brand, but hey man, this move for either side because you've seen how brand partnerships with other thing with other with other celebrities are failing basically. You know all these gins and all these coolers basically that celebrities are having out there. Most of them have failed. So the House of Bonang was one of the few that was successful, and right now
I think got kicked out by network. Kiriboni.
Yeah, for me, I think when it comes to the BNG matter and the other broader matters that we're discussing, especially alcohol abuse, I think the scam is so elaborate that at times,
Yo,
during the
scam.
stay,
That's those are fighting words, eh?
no, they are scams because for me, throughout the space, people are talking about justifying basically their alcohol intake. And, if you go back in time in history, and maybe we can talk about this another time, in more detail, but if you go back in time, you know, alcohol and drugs were strategically dumped in townships, um, to derail basically the black society and intensify whatever effects of apartheid that were intended for them. So to think that we have a choice in this problem that we're now dealing with alcohol consumption, where we're talking about, no, I can handle my alcohol, or no, it's not a leading cause of death, or whatever the case may be, even though the science, proves otherwise. For me, it's very laughable. And to show that it's elaborate, the person who is supposedly um, you know um, has been duped by this deal or whatever, continues to promote this product on her social media pages, and continues to promote the partnerships that the product has enabled her to get into. Like, for instance, the Miss SA thing. Miss SA was just yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. you know and then, after a few days, tweet something else to divert the attention so that we don't ask a lot of questions. If you go and search bonang now, the articles that appear are about how she's ready for motherhood and how she's gushing over a new man and whatever. So she can actively get you aggravated, and then 4 days later divert the attention away when you start catching on and asking too many questions. So for me, when we need to start, as a collective, I think, in the different things that we do, start taking accountability for the fact that, ish, maybe we've been duped with these black excellence things. But when people point it out, we shouldn't be so quick to say, hey man, she's jealous, she's a witch, he's a what, he's a this. And some artists are open about their struggles, and when they do open up about them, we laugh and things like that. And for me, it's like, then we sit with these things and we're like, she didn't own this brand, she didn't do this, she didn't do that. And it's like, but people who know better than you have been pointing this out, you know and it's just unfortunate that our media is white owned. So there's very little that we can do in that regard. But I mean, if you have a Twitter account, you're basically a media company yourself. So I think, arm yourself with the right information, follow people who actively go try to find the right information and facts, and that's how you'll be like a bit more enlightened, or rather will be a bit more enlightened, because the scams are very elaborate, guys. They are very, very elaborate. And thinking that you have a choice or a say in what you get to consume all the time in the society that we live in, that's a bit naive for me.
Uh, Detailed. You are clear. Kiriboni on basically everything.
Right.
Tia, you.
So I just wanted to just say, like, I fully agree with what Gilboni has said. I think we actually need to call it what it is, and we need to disabuse ourselves from this thing of supporting this for black excellence. You know what I mean? Uh, that's one thing. Um, I think even if she reacquires the brand, like, the sensible people that are observing this should, just say, hey, we were being used in Bonang's elaborate negotiation ploy, and we need to stop supporting any of these celebrity alcohol brands, like, altogether, like all of them. It's not black excellence to sell your people alcohol when you know that alcohol is a part of an elaborate ploy to actually suppress, the thinking of black people and stop them from actually being conscious to what is happening in the world around them. You know what I mean? We cannot be supporting alcohol brands. and we cannot be calling our celebrities celebrities, which are celebrated people, just because they've got alcohol brand endorsements. Like any celebrity that has got an alcohol brand endorsement, we should actually withdraw our support from them, because we should be supporting the celebrities, or the influencers who are actually influencing us to do good, instead of those who are influencing us to actually poison ourselves, because alcohol is toxic. you know we are feeding ourselves poison, and that's why I've been describing it as poison the entire time, because that's exactly what it is. Pure alcohol or ethanol is deadly. A drop of that kills you.
Yeah, I mean, this has been clear from the get go. Just that people, I believe, we're still in denial when it comes to alcohol due to certain aspects and how we have memories with alcohol. So people are still in denial about it. Anyway, Tia, you sent me a request, and here you are. Do you have any comments?
Yes, I do have. It's just going to be a short, brief one, but I just wanted to sort of like say that when it comes to alcohol, we all know in our black youth in South Africa is it's one of the ways that we use to actually show people that we have made it in life. For example, the whole Conquer situation. If you actually do make it to Conquer and you do buy a bottle, you would not hesitate to take a picture and post it on social media to show everybody that I'm here. This is what I bought, and the whole saga and the whole fame that people get from buying a lot of alcohol. People would brag about spending, for example, 6,000 rand on a weekend just on liquor, but you would never actually hear them bragging about paying their own school fees, for example. So it's the stigma that we have given alcohol as youth that once you actually get to a certain point in life, you should show off by, for example, buying a lot of alcohol or buying expensive bottles. And unfortunately, it's the black youth. That's just how we need to put it. Not to say white people do not abuse alcohol, but majority of of people who abuse alcohol, it's mostly the black youth, which
I
is
think, I
one of
think,
the
I think.
reasons why.
Sorry, just before you continue there, I think the one thing that we also need to correct is that let's not even think about whether black youth or white youth abuse it more. The effects of alcohol abuse in black communities are far worse than the effects of alcohol abuse in white communities. And
Yes.
white communities also have the resources to help themselves out of addiction problems, whereas black communities don't.
Yes, which is that was going to be my next point, that we as black people, the first thing when we actually do make it in life, we never think of investing of or I don't know, learning that skill and making sure that we actually pass it on to the next generation. We learn or we make money or we become successful just so we can actually show it off to people that hey, I'm here now. But like you said earlier, that when you look at white families, when they make it in life, they make sure that they put the whole family in there. We hardly do that. We have the whole stigma. For example, I'll make a good example where we think ukuthi maybe the aunts in the family are going to bewitch us, so we never really bring each other closer. I don't know if we haven't learned to control that part or to exercise that muscle of being rich and actually control it thoroughly. I'm not sure where we actually lose it, but once a black person makes it, I mean, we can even see in our politicians, when they make it, they go straight to corruption. And I really feel like white people, it's not that they don't see these things, that black people are in a way, um, they we don't need to destroy them, they can destroy themselves. Bona bodwa, I feel like they can see it. So they are the masterminds in a way. They know how to manipulate the game. They, for example, the whole thing of ubonang, I had no idea it had white people behind it. I completely thought it was full of black people, but they sort of like, in a way, I would say they used a black person to advertise it because they know these black people, they will go for it because now we're putting a black influencer as a pic, an image of it, which is one of the reasons why we find a lot of, like you said, in the suburbs, you're not going to turn in every corner and find a shop of someone selling alcohol. You only find that in the townships. There's an alcohol shop here, an alcohol spaza there, an alcohol everywhere. Because black people, I really feel like as much as we'll try to sugarcoat it and say white people also drink alcohol, alcohol has been there for years and years and years, but we really don't help, we don't have much self-control when it comes to alcohol. We lack that. We are not saying let's not drink alcohol, we are saying let's try our best to control our consumption of alcohol. You find people drinking every single weekend. Where have you seen that? Someone would be staying in a two-room, but they are drinking every single weekend. Whereas the other much more privileged kids, I would say, they are being taught to to invest their money. If you're making this much of the money, if you're making a 20 rand, find a way to make it a 40 rand. Whereas we are taught if you're making a 20 rand, show it to the whole community that you've made it 20 rand by spending it. I think that's where we lose it. And majority of us, we spend it on liquor, unfortunately. Even though we try to sugarcoat it and say alcohol is not bad, it's been there for thousands, at the end of the day, it is bad. It's destroying us, and that's what it's doing. For the fact that some people are noticing it, it means that it's there. Even though we might be in denial, alcohol is bad for us if we actually don't learn to control it.
Yeah, Tia. Thank you very much. Lebo, I saw your request, man, but it's 9 o'clock, so next time. Nota, before we close it, do you have anything left to say?
Yeah, I was just saying, let T have Village Boy 7 just have one thing to say, and then I'll have my closing statement after that.
Thank you, Nota. I think I would like to maybe be allowed to reiterate or to agree with Kidibone on the point of this being a scam. And for the sake of time, I'll actually try and maybe sum it uh, a bit. I think the initial scam that we got as Black people was independence, where our former liberators were given a little bit of taste of wealth, and they became the faces of exactly the same system that was oppressing us. So the system never changed. We just had a few political faces that looked like us, um, and but that system continued. And part of that system was to keep us entertained by other things that don't really matter, so that we don't actually focus on accruing wealth, so that we don't focus on actually attaining independence, for starters. And that's why we have this problem of alcohol and in Black communities, and you'll find a problem of drugs in colored communities. But the it's exactly the same system, it's exactly the same scam, and we've got our so-called entertainers who are being robbed in the same way that they do with politicians, and also given a little bit of that taste of wealth, just so that they can lure Black people, or so that they can maintain the status quo, keep Black people entertained, keep them drunk, make sure that whatever they receive, they spend on alcohol. So we basically return it back to where it's actually coming from. And this is where the scam of or the things like, look at how big the alcohol industry is in the township. And if we look at how many uh, people, Black kids with potential who've died as a result of alcohol, how many Black kids are unable to attend school, how many Black kids are abused because of the alcohol problem in the communities that they actually live in, how many people get murdered and killed. If we look at the actual effect, there is no alcohol economy in our township. There's actually an alcohol pandemic, which is destroying and killing us. And these celebrities are actually being used as part of it, and we are supporting what's killing us in the name of supporting another Black person. but that person is not a part of us. They are just a representative of the system. But yeah, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. Nota, before you speak, skillful spaces. Just wanted to inquire if you have your PBO with SARS and if people can donate to you, all the work so that we love your work. We want to know if that's possible. Just give us like a brief, just literally 1 minute of how people can donate to you, or if you even require donation. What can they even donate to you?
So one of our biggest things, we need them to donate that time, the skills, because I am not a professional in all the fields. So like we need your nota with the knowledge of contracts and all of that in the spaces. Secondly, we do have our PBO and all the necessary documents. And all donations are welcome, whether in material or funding or anything. But they can contact us on our Gmail email, which is skillful dot spaces at gmail.com, or they can just DM on Twitter and on Facebook. Then we'll respond with all the relevant details that they need. Thank you.
Okay, I'll give thanks to Level for that. He's the one who came up with the idea. I was far from it. So thank you, Level, for that. Nota.
No, yeah, I just like to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, please also hit up my DMs, Skillful Spaces. Thank you to all the people that have joined us as speakers. Thank you to all the listeners out there. I just want to also say that, the world that we live in was designed and created by people no more intelligent or more capable or more skilled or more God given than either one of us as individuals. And leadership is about assuming responsibility. It's not God ordained. You're not going to read a Bible verse that's going to tell you that you need to take leadership. You need to actually be the community that you want to live in. And it's incumbent on all of us to actually become the leaders in our societies. Let no one tell you that you are incapable or you are not ready for leadership, even if you are flawed. All of us have got our vices. Some of us are struggling with whether it be alcohol dependency or substance dependency and stuff like that. And life is a journey. We shouldn't look down upon ourselves and think because your journey has more challenges than the journey that you're observing, and you think that your journey is invalid. Your journey emboldens you, your journey strengthens you, your journey empowers you. And yeah, to all of us who have had a challenging journey in life, we're better off for it. And I think all of us can attest to that. And as we continue this journey, let us continue to empower each other. Let us continue to enable each other, and not judge each other so harshly that we are unable to, reach out our hands to each other when we are in times of need, or when we need assistance, or that, we find ourselves drowning in being overwhelmed by the challenges of just living life in South Africa. We do enjoy very, relatively affordable, high standard of living in South Africa, and that's something that the rest of the world doesn't get to enjoy. They pay a very high price for their standard of living, and us as South Africans, we pay one of the lowest prices in the world for that. But that doesn't mean that we should be cheap, or we should see ourselves as cheaper people. We do deserve better. We do deserve better leadership. But that leadership is not going to come from outside, or it's not going to be coming from the politicians. It's not going to be coming from the television. It's going to come from within ourselves. And that's when we take responsibility and actually hold ourselves accountable for the communities and the societies that we're building each and every single day. Thank you very much to everyone that has joined us. Thank you very much to everyone that has contributed, and thank you very much to my co-host OJ for your, professional moderation. Thanks again.
Thank you, man. Have a lovely evening to everyone, and I hope you have a proper day tomorrow. Sharp.